Hey guys, my name is Jalisia and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be diving into something that I think is very interesting and I have been seeing in the fashion market and then also kind of on social media. Basically, Gen Z is spending less on luxury goods and more on experiences. I do think that luxury is going to kind of lose its grip in 2025. I have also been seeing like a ton of videos about like how luxury is ending. I think like the Q4 of last year, I seen a couple of videos saying like how luxury is ending, luxury is going to end, but I don't think that luxury is going to be ending, but I do think that it is kind of losing its grip and it's losing its shininess to consumers. And I know in 2025 it's going to be rough. Actually, there was a article in Vogue Business that said that the luxury market lost about 50 million consumers, and this was an article that was written at the end of last year. And that basically it's on its first slowdown since the Great Depression and aside from the COVID dip. So we are just going to be going over why I think that's happening. We're also going to talk about how I think that Gen Z is kind of like influencing this with their values, and then also how TikTok is kind of moving this forward. So if you are interested in that, then just keep on watching. The first point that I'm going to start with is going to be the most obvious one, which is the designer prices versus the quality. I think a really great example of this is actually the Chanel Classic Flap. So in 2019, that bag was actually $5,000, and today that same bag is $10,000. And then I also read somewhere that like in 2005, it was like $1,600. Excuse me? Excuse me? Like, I definitely feel when people say like, oh my gosh, they wish that they would have gotten this bag before 2019, because yeah, the price increase is crazy. And then also at this time, a lot of people are opting in for the vintage Chanel bags because the leather is more durable, and then the gold on it is 24 karat gold plated, I think, and those are the ones I think that were made before 2005. Yeah. So yeah, so I think that people's question is like, wow, a bag went from $5,000 to $10,000. The quality is going down. What is happening with all that money that is in between? So that is really going to bring me into my next point, which is trust issues. Last year, Dior was very infamous for this. They basically got outed for exploiting factory workers. The workers were working around the clock, even on holidays. The working conditions were not good at all. They were not being safe, but the machinery, the factories would actually take off safety devices off of the machinery just so they can make the products faster. And so in addition to that, people also found out that for a bag that retails for $2,700, the cost of materials is only $57. So that really begged the question of why even shop luxury. A lot of people had in their minds that by them shopping luxury, they know for sure that the workers are being compensated well, the factory conditions are good, because why else would an item be so expensive? And we definitely do understand the price gouging just for the namesake of the brand, you know, like Chanel. You know, you're not gonna find amazing pricing for Chanel and Dior because they're aspirational brands. But at what point are we just handing money and people are just pocketing this and being greedy? Why aren't the workers being compensated in ways that they absolutely deserve? And in the midst of this, Gen Z is watching, and their power is definitely exploding all over TikTok. I know the first conversations about Gen Z was actually about their work ethic. Like, so many people were complaining about their work ethic in the workplace. But I do think that Gen Z is very aware of what is worth it and what is not worth it. And that goes from their work, the time that they're spending with their work, making sure that they are actually living the best quality of life that they can. And then that also comes into play with fashion and their purchases and what is even worth it on that side as well. There's actually a 2024 article by Bain & Company, and it basically says that by 2030, Gen Z is going to account for 1/3 of luxury purchases, and millennials are going to account for more than a half. So Gen Z, they definitely have a ton of influence, and I think how they are spending is what's going to make a huge difference. In addition, I'm pretty sure that Gen Z also takes up about, I think, 60% of the users on TikTok, and millennials, I think, is 30%. So considering this, Gen Z is going to have a major influence. I think something right now that Gen Z is really known for on the internet are items from the gate and then also dupe culture. They are really the type that if you have $2,000, instead of buying one bag, why not get 10? So that is really something that I don't really agree with, but I think that they have a lot more values that I do agree with, and has been an influence to a lot of people on the internet. So let's get into those things. So the first thing is going to be value. So Gen Z, they really want to have brands that aligns with their social and their environmental values. So I don't think that right now they are just buying, a Gucci bag just to buy the Gucci bag. They rather buy items, and they rather buy from brands that maybe has, like they reuse their leather, like with Coachtopia, or even with Dragon Diffusion. They are actually handmade in India, and you actually have to wait about 2 months just to get your bag. So I think that it's social brands like that, and kind of like slowing it down a bit, also while being in a great price range. So I think value is very important to them. And then it's like also with Coach and Dragon Diffusion, searches for them, they went up about 300%, the both of them, last year, according to the List Index. So yes, value. The next thing is going to be secondhand shopping. So I think right now Gen Z, they really prefer to have flashy items from sites like The RealReal. This kind of differs from me because when I was in high school, thrifting was a thing, but I don't think that people were thrifting for like designer stuff. I think it was just like finding cool pieces. But I think right now Gen Z, they rather kind of like treasure hunt and find these valuable items through sites like The RealReal or luxury thrifting shops in major cities. And this does align with that sustainability, environmental aspect with closing the loop. I guess like I'm also in this part as well because I mean, I think that I said this before, but my minor at FIT was in ethics and sustainability. So I've always really believed in like pre-loved, especially when it comes on to expensive items, because that's where you're really going to get a super nice bang for your buck. And I feel like Gen Z is also very, they are very specific on where that dollar gets spent. I don't think that they spend as frivolous as millennials do. So yes, so that is another thing. It's secondhand shopping. They love it. Another thing that I have noticed is that they are making smaller but mighty purchases. So the fragrance boom. The fragrance boom has been crazy. I think right now with Gen Z, they are buying smaller things like skincare and fragrance, which I think are great things to spend your money on if you're not really for buying a $2,000 bag or $1,500 bag, because it is really a great bang for your buck. And fragrance is also kind of seen as being a part of fashion, right? Like you have on your nice outfit and you have to spray your fragrance to top it off. And then, you know, skincare is your face card. So I feel like they are really into their well-being. Another thing that I do want to add to that is also food. And I don't know if this should be like a separate video, but I also feel like food is now another luxury, you know, to Gen Z. Air One, you know, those like expensive $20 smoothies, and even just like shopping organically and, you know, getting eggs that are, you know, super duper, you know, good, and the yolk is amber and it's like $12, you know, a case, which I buy sometimes, you know, whenever I can afford it. But I also think that Gen Z is focusing on their wellness. You know, I think skincare is a part of your wellness, and I think what you put into your body is also part of your wellness. And then I also feel like going a step further, it are hobbies. I also feel like right now there kind of is a wanting to kind of step off of, you know, your phone and TikTok and their internet. And I also feel like, well, maybe we're gonna see how hobbies go, but I feel like Gen Z will be investing money into hobbies as well. And I do see those things as small luxuries. I also even think that maybe you could even put like maybe sunglasses in there too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. But I know for sure fragrance and skincare, absolutely. And I also know food as well. So small luxuries, I feel like, is what they are investing in. Lastly, Gen Z, they prefer experiences and travel over possession. So according to an article by Skift, over half of Gen Z would cut out dining, they'll cut out coffee, they'll cut out shopping just to keep their travel budget afloat. And they really enjoy just flexible planning and immersive experiences. So you know, I think that this is very important to them, and it should be, you know, as I said before, I think that Gen Z is very much like, what is worth my time and what is not, what is worth my money and what is not. Like, it really has to make sense, and not only make sense, but it has to feel good for them. There was another article by Global Travel Trends, and it said that 79% of Gen Z and millennials, they do put traveling into their budget. So yeah, so that is something that is, I think, very important. That has always been very important to Gen Z, in my opinion. You know, even with, you know, the dupe culture, I feel like they're always trying to not save their money. I'm not going to say save their money, but I'm going to say that they always try to make sure that the purchases make sense. And then there is another point. I actually have on my Beyonce shirt today because And again, I don't know if this should also be a separate video, but I do think that experiences for this year is also going to be a luxury because, honey, I did the first day pre-sale for the Beehive, and when I tell you, it was very expensive. It was very pricey. So, I mean, like, concerts, I mean, this is like my most expensive concert ticket ever to date. And it was for Cowboy Carter. And, you know, I do not regret it. The only thing that I regret is not waiting for that Verizon pre-sale. And comment below if you are also in the Beehive and love Beyonce and you know what I'm talking about, because my heart. But I also think that this does also like goes to kind of show that like the people who will be going to the concert, you know, I'm pretty sure with these prices that was a priority over many like other things. So maybe, you know, they won't be getting a bag. And I'm not saying all, you know, but I'm just saying that I do feel like there is that preference, because if it was between buying, you know, a bag or buying like a pair of Gucci shoes, I feel like Gen Z, they would get that ticket instead. And I also feel like even with the state of the economy, I think things like, you know, organic food, you know, high grade eggs, concert tickets, like all of those things, they really are luxuries, you know. So I also feel like the whole definition of luxury is also changed for Gen Z. I think it's just anything that you are investing in yourself and that feels good is considered a luxury. And I know that this was like a conversation, I think like 2 years ago or so, but I feel like Gen Z, they really understand this notion. Because honey, the price of those tickets, like I was like, yeah, this is for sure a luxury. Like this absolutely is a luxury. So to kind of round this up, you know, earlier I mentioned that Gen Z takes up about 60% of TikTok. I think this is like the third time that I'm saying this. And millennials, we take up about 30%. So these values amongst Gen Z are gonna spread a lot more easily, right? Because, you know, it's more of them and they're on the same page. So I think that it's only natural for those values to kind of you know, to kind of start to come on to millennials as well. I think a blog post by Ghost Retail really summed it up well. It says, millennials and Gen Z are ditching the accumulation of possessions in favor of experiences that create lasting memories. So whether it's, you know, it's a music festival or a concert or a cruise or a resort stay, I think both the millennials and the Gen Zs are really valuing things in experience, and I feel like they really crave experience nowadays with, you know, everything that is going on. And they're also grateful for experiences and being able to even have experiences in this economy right now. So for my final thoughts, I'm definitely here for the shift. I really do think that the Hermes Picotin bag is going to be my last major purchase. I also feel like with sites like Italist and Satire, you really don't have to pay an arm and a leg anymore for luxury goods. And then also even, you know, the pre-love market. I feel like there's so many avenues out there where you don't have to spend a ton of money. I also do think that my bag budget is going to be lowering as well, as, you know, I too want to focus more on experiences. And I also think that this year, I think hobbies are going to be a really big thing too, which also falls under experience, but I would love to know how you guys are feeling. Are you guys moving away from luxury goods? Are you guys still going to continue to get your luxury goods, or are you going to decrease the amount of goods that you get? What are you planning on focusing on this year, and what are your thoughts about it? So let me know in the comments below. If you've watched all the way, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.